privileged little pockets. Although Angelina Jolie and David Beckham may not be aware of the history of Latin in the American and British education systems, they will be aware of the inherited baggage of poshness that comes with the language. For the same reason, the organizers of the Super Bowl are careful to call it Super Bowl XLI and not Super Bowl 41. Arabic numerals just don't have the same cachet, and that has nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. Miss Jolie will have noticed the chunk of Latin associated with the MGM studio, ars gratia artis, art for the sake of art, which is seen above the roaring lion at the opening of all their films. Beckham will have picked up on the Latin in the mottos of soccer clubs. The motto of one of the great English soccer teams, Arsenal, is Victoria Concordia Crescit. Not Posh Spice goes by Concord, but victory grows through togetherness. Beckham might have noticed, too, the classical influence behind the group Ionic columns that frame the pedimented porch of his mock Queen Anne house, Beckingham Palace, in Sawbridgeworth, Hertfordshire. Jolie and Beckham will have seen Latin, too, in dates on war memorials and in epitaphs on tombstones, and carved as inscriptions on the facades of ancient houses. Wherever Angelina Jolie and David Beckham will have spotted Latin, its setting will have been grand, or attached to the portentous things in life, birth, death, scholarship boards. The setting will also have tended to be an old one, or one that wants to conjure up connotations of oldness. The knowledge that Latin has survived in written, if not in spoken form, for 2,500 years gives quod me nutrit me destruit an elemental force that just isn't there in what nourishes me destroys me. Angelina Jolie may not be able to read Latin, but she will recognize it when she hears it in everyday speech. R.I.P., requiescat in pace, i.e., id est, that is, and so on. All of these terms are mental triggers, little ticks dotted through the English language and cropping up in solid form all over Britain and America that give Latin what Angelina Jolie's agent would call tremendous branding potential. And so to the point of this book. To make the jump from a Hollywood tattooist's knowledge of Latin to a level where you can understand most of those inscriptions on tombstones and get real pleasure from reading bits of Horace and Catullus is not difficult. If you never learned Latin at school, no matter. If you did, all the better. You might think you've forgotten it. You haven't. If you spent even the tiniest part of your teenage years learning dreary declensions and conjugations, the effort made to do so, and the young age at which you did it, means that a ghost of that knowledge is still there, tattooed to the back of your brain. Somewhere in your mind there still beats the old rhythms, amo, amas, amat, ablative absolutes, the future perfect, subjunctives. As you go down the list, and the rules behind each idiom get a little more complicated, they may grow a little more faded, but all those rules need is a little memory boost, and they come flooding back. It will only take a quick trawl through this friendly Latin primer, with its reminders of a few of those declensions and conjugations, to bring the ghost to life. The joy that a little learning of Latin brings is immense. Alexander Pope was quite wrong, by the way, when he said, "A little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep, or taste not the Pierian spring." His miscalculation is particularly disappointing in somebody who certainly knew his classics, and would have known that Pieria was the place where, according to Hesiod, the 9 muses were born. Clio, in charge of history; Urania, astronomy; Calliope, epic poetry; Melpomene, tragedies; Euterpe, harmony; Erato, lyric and love poetry; Terpsichore, dancing; Thalia, comedy; and Polyhymnia, music. All of these muses are delightful subjects, of which a little knowledge can bring vast pleasure. Okay, I do have to admit the muses were Greek, like an awful lot of things absorbed by the Romans. Tragedy, comedy, architecture. So many things, in fact, that Quintilian said with some relief, satura quidem tota nostra est. At least satire is completely ours. But leave the Greek influences on Rome up to me. Wherever they are essential to our understanding, I will tie them in.